Have you ever wondered if some movies were never meant to be watched at all? These are not simply horror movies. These are experiences that challenge patience, morality, and comfort in ways most filmmakers would never dare attempt. From psychological nightmares to controversial cinematic experiments, here are 15 of the most fed-up movies ever made. Number 15. Hard Candy, 2005. At first glance, Hard Candy looks like a simple thriller about a teenager meeting an older photographer. The film traps viewers inside a tense battle of wits where every conversation feels like a loaded weapon waiting to fire. What makes the movie so disturbing is not graphic imagery, but the constant uncertainty about who is really in control. Elliot Page delivers a performance filled with confidence and mystery. Patrick Wilson provides the perfect counterbalance as a man who quickly realizes he may have stepped into a situation far beyond his understanding. The film unfolds almost like a stage play, with most scenes taking place in a single location. That limited setting only increases the pressure. Director David Slade creates an atmosphere where every word carries weight. There are no easy heroes, and no simple answers. Instead, the audience is forced to wrestle with uncomfortable questions. By the time the credits roll, many viewers feel emotionally exhausted. Hard Candy proves that a movie does not need monsters or supernatural forces to become deeply unsettling. Sometimes, a conversation can be more frightening than any horror creature.
Number 14, Requiem for a Dream, 2000. Some disturbing movies frighten viewers with violence. Requiem for a Dream destroys them through desperation. Directed by Darren Aronofsky, this film follows four people chasing different dreams, only to watch those dreams slowly turn into traps. What begins with hope, excitement, and escape becomes one of the most emotionally punishing downward spirals in modern cinema. Ellen Burstyn delivers a heartbreaking performance as a lonely woman who becomes obsessed with changing her life. Jared Leto, Jennifer Connelly, and Marlon Wayans each portray characters who believe they are moving towards something better, even as every decision pulls them deeper into ruin. The film's style is aggressive and unforgettable. Rapid editing, disturbing sound design, and repeated visual patterns create the feeling of being locked inside addiction, anxiety, and collapse. Nothing about the experience feels comfortable. What makes Requiem for a Dream so devastating is how human it feels. These are not monsters. They are people who want happiness, love, success, and relief. By the end, viewers are left shaken because the horror comes from watching ordinary hope become unbearable suffering.
Number 13. Nightcrawler, 2014. Few movie characters are as fascinating and disturbing as Lou Bloom. He begins as an ambitious outsider searching for opportunity in Los Angeles. Before long, he discovers the world of freelance crime journalism and realizes that tragedy can become a profitable business. Jake Gyllenhaal transforms himself into one of modern cinema's most unsettling figures. Lou rarely raises his voice. He rarely loses control. Yet every smile feels unnatural, and every conversation carries hidden menace. Watching him manipulate situations for personal gain becomes increasingly uncomfortable. Director Dan Gilroy uses the city at night as a playground for moral decay. Flashing police lights and empty streets create a world where ambition overwhelms humanity. The film asks how far someone should go to achieve success, and whether society quietly rewards the worst behavior when ratings and profits are involved. Unlike traditional villains, Lou never sees himself as evil. That detail makes him far more frightening. He treats human suffering as a business opportunity, and approaches every tragedy with cold efficiency. Nightcrawler is not filled with jump scares or graphic scenes. Instead, it delivers something far more disturbing. A realistic portrait of a man who succeeds precisely because he lacks empathy. Number 12. Funny Games, 2007. Most thrillers encourage viewers to root for the heroes and hope justice eventually arrives. Funny Games does the exact opposite. From the opening scenes, director Michael Haneke makes it clear that comfort will not be part of the experience. What begins as a peaceful family vacation quickly transforms into a nightmare controlled by two calm and disturbingly polite intruders. The most unsettling aspect of the film is not violence. It is the attitude of the villains. They behave as though everything happening is part of a game, designed solely for their amusement. Their casual conversations create an atmosphere that feels far more disturbing than shouting or chaos ever could. Naomi Watts and Tim Roth deliver performances that make the fear feel genuine. Every attempt to regain control only deepens the audience's sense of helplessness. Haneke constantly challenges traditional thriller expectations, and even toys with viewers who expect familiar Hollywood resolutions. Funny Games has earned a reputation as one of the most emotionally punishing films ever made. It forces viewers to question why they watch violent entertainment in the first place. That uncomfortable self-awareness is what makes the movie linger in memory long after the screen goes dark. Number 11, Antichrist, 2009. Some movies are designed to entertain. Antichrist feels designed to disturb every emotion a viewer possesses. Directed by Lars von Trier, this controversial psychological horror film explores grief, guilt, and self-destruction through imagery that many audiences found impossible to forget. The story follows a couple retreating to an isolated cabin after a devastating personal tragedy. What begins as an attempt to heal quickly evolves into something much darker. Nature itself seems hostile, and every moment feels infected by dread. The forest becomes less of a location and more of a living nightmare. Willem Dafoe and Charlotte Gainsbourg give fearless performances that carry the film through its increasingly unsettling descent. Their emotional struggles feel painfully authentic, even when the story ventures into surreal territory. Von Trier combines dreamlike visuals with intense psychological themes, creating scenes that remain burned into the viewer's memory. What separates Antichrist from ordinary horror films is its refusal to provide comfort. There are no clear explanations, and no easy emotional escape routes. The film challenges audiences to confront fear, grief, and despair in their rawest forms. Whether viewers consider it brilliant or unbearable, few forget the experience.
Number 10, Old Boy, 2003. Old Boy begins like a mystery and slowly transforms into something far more twisted. Directed by Park Chan-wook, this South Korean thriller follows a man who is kidnapped and locked inside a private room for 15 years without explanation. When he is suddenly released, he begins searching for the person responsible, desperate to understand why his life was stolen. At first, the film feels like a revenge story, but Old Boy is much more disturbing than a simple tale of payback. Every answer leads to another trap, and every revelation makes the story feel darker. The movie pulls viewers into a world where punishment is not quick or simple. It is carefully designed, psychologically cruel, and almost impossible to escape. Choi Min-sik gives a powerful performance as a man driven by rage, confusion, and pain. Park Chan-wook combines stylish visuals with brutal emotional tension, making the film beautiful and horrifying at the same time. What makes Old Boy unforgettable is its final revelation. Without giving too much away, it completely changes how viewers understand everything that came before. Few films deliver a twist this shocking, while still feeling emotionally tragic. Old Boy is disturbing because it proves revenge can destroy everyone, even when it succeeds.
Number 9. A Clockwork Orange, 1971. Back in 1971, audiences had never seen anything quite like A Clockwork Orange. Directed by Stanley Kubrick, this controversial classic arrived with a style so bold and a message so unsettling that debates about the film continue decades later. It was praised as a masterpiece by some and condemned by others who believed it pushed boundaries too far. The story follows Alex DeLarge, a charismatic troublemaker who spends his nights causing chaos and seeking excitement. What makes the film disturbing is not simply what Alex does. It is how charming and entertaining he can appear while committing acts that leave viewers deeply uncomfortable. Kubrick deliberately places the audience in a complicated position where fascination and disgust exist side by side. Visually, the movie feels unlike anything else from its era. Strange costumes, unusual music choices, and surreal imagery create a world that feels both futuristic and oddly familiar. Every scene is designed to challenge expectations. As the story progresses, the focus shifts from crime to questions about free will and control. Is a person truly good if they are forced to behave? That moral dilemma gives the film a depth that extends far beyond its shocking reputation. A Clockwork Orange remains one of cinema's most provocative experiences because it refuses to provide simple answers. Number 8. Cannibal Holocaust, 1980. Long before found footage became a popular genre, Cannibal Holocaust convinced many viewers they were watching something real. Released in 1980, this infamous Italian horror film generated controversy on a scale few movies have ever matched. Rumors spread so quickly that authorities reportedly investigated whether actual crimes had been committed during production. The story follows a rescue mission into the Amazon rainforest, where investigators recover recordings left behind by a missing documentary crew. As the footage is viewed, the truth becomes increasingly disturbing. The people behind the camera gradually reveal themselves to be far less innocent than expected. Director Ruggero Deodato used a documentary style years before it became common. Shaky camera work, rough editing, and natural settings create an illusion of authenticity that remains effective even today. The film constantly blurs the line between observer and participant, forcing viewers to question who the real villains are. Beyond its notorious reputation, Cannibal Holocaust explores themes of exploitation media, sensationalism, and human cruelty. Those ideas often become overshadowed by its shocking content, but they remain central to the story. Love it or hate it, this is one of the most controversial movies ever produced, and its influence can still be seen throughout modern horror cinema. Number 7. The House That Jack Built, 2018. Imagine listening to a serial killer explain his life story as though he were discussing architecture or fine art. That strange concept forms the foundation of The House That Jack Built. Directed by Lars von Trier, this dark and deeply unsettling film follows a murderer who views each crime as part of a larger artistic achievement. Matt Dillon delivers a remarkable performance as Jack. He is intelligent, calm, and disturbingly confident. Rather than hiding his actions, he analyzes them with the detached attitude of someone discussing a professional project. That perspective makes every chapter of the story feel uniquely disturbing. Von Trier structures the film as a series of incidents that reveal Jack's twisted worldview. With each new chapter, viewers gain a deeper understanding of his mind, while simultaneously wishing they understood less. The film combines dark humor, psychological horror, and philosophical conversations in a way few directors would attempt. What truly makes The House That Jack Built memorable is its willingness to challenge the audience. It constantly asks whether society glamorizes monsters, and whether art can be separated from the actions of its creator. The result is an experience that many viewers describe as fascinating and exhausting at the same time. It is not an easy watch, but it is certainly an unforgettable one. Number 6. Martyrs, 2008. If there is one movie that repeatedly appears on lists of the most disturbing films ever made, it is Martyrs. This French horror masterpiece begins as what seems like a revenge story. A young woman tracks down the people she believes ruined her childhood and sets out to confront them. Viewers might expect a familiar thriller. Instead, the film takes a turn that few see coming. Director Pascal Laugier gradually transforms the narrative into something far darker and more philosophical. Every new revelation raises difficult questions about suffering, belief, and the limits of human endurance. Rather than relying solely on shock, the film uses emotional weight to make its impact even stronger. The performances are intense and believable. The characters feel trapped inside circumstances that grow increasingly hopeless. As the story progresses, the audience realizes this is not simply a tale of revenge. It is an exploration of obsession and the terrifying consequences of pursuing forbidden knowledge. What makes Martyrs so unforgettable is its final act. Many horror films build toward a climactic confrontation. Martyrs builds toward an idea. That idea is so disturbing and thought-provoking that viewers continue debating its meaning years later. It is emotionally exhausting, intellectually challenging, and unlike almost anything else in the horror genre. Number 5. Threads, 1984. Most disaster movies focus on survival and heroism. Threads abandons those comforting ideas almost immediately. Produced by the BBC, this television film presents a horrifying vision of what could happen if nuclear war ever became reality. Decades after its release, many viewers still describe it as one of the most frightening experiences they have ever had. The story follows ordinary people living ordinary lives in Britain. Families go to work, attend school, and worry about everyday problems. Then international tensions escalate. What follows is not a dramatic Hollywood spectacle. It is a cold and devastating examination of societal collapse. Director Mick Jackson approaches the material with documentary-style realism. There are no action heroes racing to save the day. There are no miraculous escapes. Instead, viewers witness the gradual destruction of infrastructure, communities, and hope itself. What separates Threads from other disturbing movies is plausibility. Everything feels possible. The horror comes from recognizing how fragile civilization really is. By the final scenes, the audience is left staring at a future that feels almost impossible to comprehend. Threads does not merely scare viewers. It forces them to confront a nightmare that once seemed frighteningly close to becoming reality. Number 4, Salò, or The 120 Days of Sodom, 1975. Few films have generated as much controversy as Salò. Directed by Pier Paolo Pasolini, this notorious work remains one of the most debated movies ever created. Banned in multiple countries and condemned by critics and audiences alike, it continues to challenge anyone brave enough to watch it. Set during the final days of fascist Italy, the story follows powerful figures who isolate a group of young captives and subject them to a horrifying system of control. The narrative is intentionally uncomfortable because Pasolini wanted viewers to confront the abuse of power in its most extreme forms. Unlike traditional horror films, Salò rarely relies on suspense. Instead, it creates dread through cold observation. Every scene is designed to provoke reflection, as well as discomfort. What keeps Salò relevant decades later is the discussion surrounding its purpose. Some view it as a powerful political statement about corruption and authority. Others consider it nearly impossible to endure regardless of its message. Either way, the film achieved something few movies ever accomplish. It became a cultural lightning rod that continues to inspire debate long after its release. For many viewers, Salò represents the point where cinema pushes directly against the limits of what audiences are willing to witness. Number 3. A Serbian Film, 2010. There are controversial movies, and then there is a Serbian film. Few titles have achieved the same level of notoriety. The movie became infamous almost immediately after release and sparked debates around the world about censorship, artistic freedom, and the limits of cinema itself. Even people who have never seen it often know its reputation. The story centers on a retired performer who accepts one final project in hopes of securing financial stability for his family. At first, the offer appears mysterious but manageable. As filming progresses, he discovers that he has become involved in something far darker than he ever imagined. Every new revelation pushes the narrative deeper into nightmare territory. Director Srđan Spasojević presents the story with a polished visual style that contrasts sharply with its disturbing subject matter. That contrast makes the experience even more unsettling. The film constantly escalates, creating an atmosphere where viewers never know what shocking development might appear next. Supporters argue that the movie serves as a political allegory reflecting frustration and corruption within society. Critics see it as one of the most extreme examples of shock cinema ever produced. Regardless of interpretation, its reputation remains unmatched. Many viewers never finish it, while others spend years trying to forget it. Very few movies generate such strong reactions, and that alone secures its place among the most fed-up films ever made.
Number 2, Come and See, 1985. Some war films are upsetting because they show battle. Come and See is disturbing because it makes war feel like the end of innocence itself. Directed by Elim Klimov, this Soviet anti-war masterpiece follows a young boy who joins resistance fighters during the Nazi occupation of Belarus. At first, he carries the excitement of someone too young to understand what he is entering. By the end, that innocence has been completely erased. Alexei Kravchenko gives one of the most haunting performances ever captured on film. His face changes throughout the movie until he seems to age years in only a few hours. The horror does not come from traditional suspense or movie-style action. It comes from fear, confusion, cruelty, and the collapse of everything human around him. Klimov shoots the film with a nightmarish realism that makes viewers feel trapped inside the experience. The sound design, close-up faces, and chaotic movement create a feeling of total psychological breakdown. Come and See is not entertainment in the normal sense. It is an emotional endurance test. Long after it ends, the images remain in the mind, not because they are shocking for attention, but because they feel like history screaming directly at the viewer.
Number 1. Irreversible, 2002. At the very top of this list sits a film that many critics consider one of the most emotionally devastating experiences ever put on screen. Directed by Gaspar Noé, Irreversible is not remembered because of monsters or supernatural terror. It is remembered because it confronts viewers with tragedy in a way that feels painfully real. The story unfolds in reverse chronological order. The film begins with chaos and destruction, then gradually moves backward through time, revealing how everything led to that point. This unusual structure changes the entire emotional experience. Instead of wondering what will happen next, viewers slowly discover what has already been lost. Noé uses aggressive camera work, unsettling sound design, and long uninterrupted scenes to immerse audiences completely. The technical craftsmanship is extraordinary yet deeply uncomfortable. Every creative decision serves a single purpose: to make viewers feel trapped within the events unfolding on screen. What truly elevates Irreversible above countless other disturbing movies is its emotional impact. Beneath the controversy lies a heartbreaking story about love, chance, and irreversible consequences. The title itself becomes the central message. Some actions cannot be undone. Some moments cannot be taken back. By the time the credits roll, many viewers are left silent, not because they were frightened, but because they were emotionally overwhelmed. Irreversible is not simply one of the most fed-up movies ever made. It is one of the most unforgettable cinematic experiences ever created. So how many of these movies have you actually survived watching? Some are brilliant. Some are controversial. Some feel less like entertainment and more like endurance tests. Whether you admire them or regret pressing play, these films leave a mark that rarely fades. If we missed one, drop your most disturbing movie pick below.